Hey, what's up, sports fans? It is the Southern Football Network show. We are Sans Yates. No Antonio, no studio, just me, Jamie, in New York City, and Charlie. Charlie took some time off from the bachelorette parties in Nash Vegas to join us. So here we are, guys, the three of us, the three amigos, the three
The three best friends that
musketeers.
anyone could have.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
here. So, hey, we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to get right to it. We're going to talk about the playoffs. We're going to talk about the mess that is the transfer portal. It is a complete and wild, wild west going on with that. And we're going to talk about our favorite bowl game, or the bowl game that we're most looking forward to that's non-playoff specific, and who we're looking at that matchup there. So, with all that, before we get into that, we're going to talk to Jamie, because before the SEC championship, Jamie and I had a little banter going on, a little talk. She was talking to the stars. She was checking out the astrology. She made a prediction before the game. Jamie, you did a great job. You picked Georgia for one, but you also said that there was going to be a major injury to a key player. And by golly, it happened.
Yeah.
Go with that.
And I should have known it was going to be Carson Beck because Friday night, I was at, I don't remember the name of the restaurant, but was having dinner, went to the restroom and met Carson Beck's stepmom in the bathroom.
Oh my gosh.
We're now best friends. We had this whole conversation about him. But the thing with the injuries is, and I think we see this too, even in the NFL, we've been in a Mars retrograde since the day before the SEC championship, but we've been in kind of a shadow period before that, which means the planet is going to cover all of the degrees that it's going to retrograde over. So it's kind of like a sneak preview of what's going to happen. But Mars traditionally is our planet of action and drive and aggression and conflict and sports and fighting and swords and all of those things. And when it's going retrograde, it's technically not moving backwards in the sky, but it's moving it from the aspect of Earth. It looks like it's moving backwards because Earth is moving around the sun quicker. So Mars doesn't function as well, or any planet that's in retrograde doesn't function, it doesn't have all of its tools that it needs in order to perform the way that it wants to. So during a Mars retrograde, when we think of all the themes I just mentioned, there's a lot of injuries, there's a lot of really bad conflict, fighting, and so it's funny, the week before Mars went retrograde, what happened in almost every single rivalry game? Guys, have we ever seen fighting like that at the end of the games with
At
the
the end of the
flag
games, yeah,
planting?
for sure. They were trying to plant the flags at all the rivalry games.
Kind of unprecedented. And I think, in college and in the NFL, we also have a tremendous amount of injuries. And Mars only goes retrograde once every 2.5 years. So it's very unlikely. And it's funny, the last time Mars went retrograde, Bama also lost to Tennessee and to LSU.
Maybe we need to fix that so that happens every year.
And missed the playoffs. So Mars retrograde, not very nice to the Crimson Tide. But I just had a feeling that having it officially station retrograde the day before the SEC championship, I was like, key injuries are a thing that happens with Mars retrogrades. I fell and twisted my ankle, skinned my knee. I went back through my photo albums, guys, to track the retrogrades before, like of past years. Every single Mars retrograde, I've fallen and skinned my knee.
Oh my gosh.
Every single one. It's
So we got a quick lesson on Mars retrograde, the universe, the stars. Charlie, did you understand any of that?
My head's spinning. It's
I didn't understand. All I know is I can see Venus in the sky. I can see Jupiter in the sky right now.
yeah.
They're really bright. So, but I give you credit, Jamie. You called it. You called it right before the game. You said somebody's going to get hurt. You don't know who it is, and you thought it was going to be from Texas on that side, actually. Yeah. So you thought it was going to be yours, possibly, but you had the wrong quarterback. But you were pretty close. I give you credit there. Known.
I had the Carson Beck sign there.
Yeah, so you weren't listening to the signs, Jamie.
I should have put two and two together. I know. The signs are subtle, but they do sign. So.
Oh goodness! All right, we'll talk about signs. What signs do we have for the upcoming playoffs? Playoffs.
Why are
Okay,
you
you
saying it
can't
like
say
that?
playoffs without saying it like that anymore.
But why?
Yeah.
Is
So,
that a thing I've missed? Like, does
oh my
someone?
gosh, yeah, it's before your time, Jamie.
Just
Oh.
Google Jim Mora and you'll get
I
that.
know who Jim Mora is. He's a former Falcons head coach.
Right. Yeah, but when he was with the Colts, right, Charlie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You may know Jim Mora Jr.
Yeah. Yeah. We're showing
Okay.
our age, Charlie.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
generation gap there is, yeah. You'll have to look up playoffs. Anyway, so we've got a college football playoff for the first time with 12 teams. Here we go. Charlie, what's your favorite matchup? Who are you looking at? What's going on in your head right now?
Well, I'll tell you my favorite matchup, I think, is Tennessee Ohio State. I'm really intrigued by that one. I think those teams match up pretty well. Um, to me, Clemson, Texas is a real wild card. I really think this is a time Clemson's gonna get an upset here.
So you and
Uh,
I agree on that one, Charlie. I
yeah,
think this is the year for Clemson to step out again. I mean, don't count that he's a good coach, man.
yeah,
So I call an upset on that one too.
yeah. I think I'd feel better about the upset had there been less time lapse between between the championship games and the time that they play. I think this has given Texas a little more opportunity to sort of right the ship. Uh, and there's a little bit of an edge off of Dabo, Juju, and his guys being on a roll. But I think Clemson's really hot right now. Um, so I think that one is really my upset. I really think SMU, Penn State, and Indiana, Notre Dame could. I think they'll be really good games, but I think for the average fans, certainly for the casual fans, I think they'll be boring games because they're going to be defensive intensive. And
Yeah, but I think Penn State, Notre Dame, both on that side. I think they're blowout games. I don't think they're even close.
You think
I think Notre
so?
Dame handles Indiana, and I think Penn State handles SMU easily. Jamie, your takes on any of those?
Interesting. Let me ask you this. If you had Penn State versus Clemson, how do you think that game would go?
Ooh, that I think that's more interesting than any of the other matchups,
No,
actually.
and I'll tell you why I asked, because of how SMU kept it close with Clemson. They fought back, right? The second half of the game was completely different than the first half of the game. So I think even if they
That's
get
fair.
down, they've shown that they have kind of that mental toughness and that moxie to get back in the game. 17 points in the fourth quarter. So I'm curious how you would think that Penn State and Clemson would match up versus each other, because they've already shown that they can hang in there and at least come back from being down with Clemson. So I'm not sure if that one's going to be a blowout. The only way I could see it is because they just have stage fright. SMU hasn't been like literally on the stage since 1987, the
Right.
year I was born. So it was a very long time ago.
So
So,
there
so
again, it
that's so,
shows the difference. That was the year I graduated high school. So,
so how do we trust Rhett Lashley to prepare his team for this big stage? And also, I talked with David Miller last week, like how he thinks the Mustangs are going to fare in the cold of um, Happy Valley.
Pennsylvania
I'm going
College
to say
Station,
College
yeah,
Station. Happy
not
Valley.
College Station.
Yeah.
Where are we playing?
some people call it Happy Valley, some people
There you
call it
go.
College
There you
Station,
go.
some people call it State College.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks, Charlie. Hey,
Yes.
look, if somebody's coming on here for in-depth analysis on stats and everything, we got to defer to Charlie on those things.
Love it. Okay, but actually, back to Clemson and Penn State. How do you think those two would fare against each other? Do you think that SMU is really just going to get completely trounced by Penn State and
I don't think it's a trouncing
Clemson?
so much. I just think Penn State handles them. I don't think it's that close of a game. But if you matched up Clemson and Penn State on that side, huh? Haven't really looked at it, but I kind of like Penn State on that matchup. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I think to me the wild card, and Jamie's all over this. The difference between Clemson and SMU is, Dabo Sweeney and his coaching staff have been in so many big games. I mean, there's been some turnover in his coaching staff. I mean, obviously Tony Elliott, Brent Venables are not there anymore, but that coaching staff, there's not been a lot of turnover, and those guys have been in playoffs, they've been in national championship games, and that is one of the reasons why I think they've got a really good shot at winning in Austin because this is not a foreign territory to the leadership, whereas it is at SMU. And you know, a lot of these players have played in big games in high school and whatever, but SMU has not played on this kind of stage. You know, this is their first year as a member of a Power Four conference. Um, so I'm with Jason in that Penn State handles them. I don't know if I'd call it a blowout, uh, but I think it's a defensive game, and I think that certainly favors Penn State. Sort of a grinded out, ugly. You know, we can go through a quarter and a half and not see anything but punts, and that certainly favors Penn State. So. But I think Jamie's certainly onto something there with how this is new territory to SMU, and that is a big deal. I mean, I don't the largest crowd SMU's played in front of this year, I don't know, probably 50, 60,000. I mean, the ACC championship game, I think there were 58,000 people. That's probably the largest crowd they played in front
That's
of.
half of what they're going to see
And it's
this
half of
weekend.
what they're going to see.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's a.
All right,
I
so
think
Charlie, you're calling Penn State, Notre Dame, Tennessee, Ohio State. What do you got?
I'm going
It's
to go
good.
with Ohio
It's going to be
State.
like 20 degrees.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm
it's going to
gonna.
be freezing in Columbus.
I don't think Imaliava's gonna. I don't think he's gonna love that. You
Yeah,
know. I don't
yeah,
think the
he's a
receivers are
warm
gonna
weather
love
kid.
that. So I've got the score I predicted was 29-21 Ohio State. I think it's going to be somewhere around a touchdown. Not really high scoring, which both of those teams like to do, but I think the weather is going to keep the scoring down a little bit.
All
So,
right,
um,
Jamie, what do you think on this game, on the Tennessee Ohio State game?
Yeah, fun fact, Ohio State is 1-13 in their last 14 matchups against the SEC. So Ohio State has an SEC problem. Tennessee might have a weather problem, but Ohio State has an SEC problem. Um, ugh, I think we've seen that Ohio State is definitely human and defeatable this year. I don't know. I kind of like the Tennessee Volunteers in this one, guys.
You know, I can't go against my home team. You know, I just can't do it. I have to pick. Yeah, I have to pick the Vols. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be cold. But what I love about the Tennessee fans, they are buying up the tickets like crazy. They are trying to invade Columbus. They don't care how cold it is. They're trying to get there. The Ohio State AD actually posted, "Don't sell your tickets to Tennessee fans." They haven't played since Peyton Manning was around. You know, in the Citrus Bowl a bunch of years ago, Eddie George was the running back for Ohio State. Charlie, you probably remember that.
yeah,
And I've seen nothing but clips on that from the Tennessee fans. They're like, this is what we're going to do to them again. So hopefully that can happen. But I do think the weather comes into play. I don't think there's any call for precipitation. But the cold weather is just, as we talked about with George Teague a couple of weeks ago, it makes a difference. So, all right. So
yeah.
we've got Tennessee, we've got the Penn State, Notre Dame, Indiana. Did we get your pick on that one, Jamie? What do you think? Quickly.
Um, Out of all the games, I do think this one has the potential for the blowout. Yeah, I like Notre Dame in this one, guys. Indiana, even though they only have one loss, I just think that they are such pretenders, and somebody is going to get exposed in this playoff. And for me, it is the Indiana Hoosiers.
There you go. All right. And then the Texas Clemson game.
I like Texas here. I like Steve Sarkisian on a big stage. I think they are going to want to take advantage of that number 5 seed, which is basically the best place you want to be in this horrible seeding that we have in the playoff. So no, I like the Texas Longhorns here. Even if Quinn Ewers plays bad, they always have that backup option. It's like what it's like that.
Not a bad backup option, huh?
It's a wonderful insurance plan. So no, I like the Longhorns here. And sorry, I'm rooting for SMU. I want to see the Pony Bowl between the Mustangs and the Broncos. I think that will be something that college football has. I'm not sure, maybe they've seen before, but it's been a very long time.
Oh my goodness. All right, so let's move over to the transfer portal. What a mess, Charlie. You know, we talked about this off air before we started the show. And I was telling you about, I saw a picture of a player on social media. His profile picture, he's wearing a USC uniform. In the photo itself that he posted, he was wearing a Penn State uniform, and he's flexing up, and he's got a Georgia logo on his right bicep. That epitomizes the transfer portal in one photo. There's three,
Yes.
yeah, it's just craziness. The whole thing with Marshall, the entire team following the coach, they've got to stop this. They've got to stop it. At least let them play the bowl games. I mean, you're having to field entire new teams. Some of these bowl teams are having to field entire teams to get just to be able to play. Plus, the coaches, if you think about this, the coaches are having to recruit not only the high school kids now, you've got a whole nother recruiting area going on in the transfer portal that we've never seen anything like this. And I mean, if this was free agency, the NFL at least have some control over free agency and some rules that go about it. This is just I can go anywhere, anytime I want to go. What are your thoughts,
Yeah.
Charlie? Jump in there.
Yeah, it is the Wild Wild West, and there are some um, legitimate reasons. I mean, it looks like to us the timing is horrendous, and you can put your name in the portal at any point. The most famous is UNLV quarterback. After 3 games, said he wasn't he didn't. UNLV didn't fulfill their financial promise to him, so he entered the portal back in September. Um, the portal opens for activity and coaches to contact players. I forget the date, 12th or 11th of December or 13th or something. So it is right in the middle of bowl season, all these guys being recruited. Um, I think what the NCAA is trying to do is they're trying to give players an opportunity to transfer before next semester starts. So they can be enrolled in school at the beginning of the
That's the first
semester.
valid argument I've heard for it.
And
Yeah.
so while that obviously does make sense, but it creates a situation now where, um, as Lane Kiffin brought up, he feels bad for Duke because he's about to play Duke in a bowl game, and Duke's quarterback Malik Murphy is transfer portal. Does that mean he's not going to play? Coaches handle that differently. In fact, last year the Duke coach let their running back play who had already signed with NC State. He had transferred, already signed with NC State, and yet he was playing in Duke's bowl game. Some coaches are okay with that. Um, I think most coaches are like, you know what? I don't want that distraction. He's gone. We're all about 2025 now. Um, so it is a mess. You've got the Marshall situation where the coach leaves, and then all of a sudden, you've got mass exodus. I mean, 25 plus players in the transfer portal. Um,
He's
the
taking
two
his whole team.
quarterbacks left on the roster, neither one of them played this year. One of them played for Morehead State a couple of years ago. And Army, it's too bad because Marshall plays Army, and the Army guys, they're
They don't get to
nothing has
hit that
changed.
transfer portal like the rest of the kids.
No, nothing has changed. Their practice has not changed. They're going at it just like they're going at it like they're about to play the Kansas City Chiefs. So that one could get ugly. But you got the Boise State coach claiming that at least 13 of his players have been illegally contacted by other schools trying
I'm
to
sure
get
they
them to enter
probably
the
have.
portal. I don't doubt that at all.
Yeah.
Um, so it's coaches and alumni and NIL keepers, okay, the money guys, they want other players to know, hey, there's money available here, so get in the portal and come see us. And
And the
it's
rumor mill to go along with that, the transfer portal is just crazy. I mean, you've even got rumors about Quinn Ewers not going to the NFL and going to, I think it was Oregon, that's willing to pay him like four. Again, this is rumor mill. Who knows if any of it's accurate? That they're willing to pay him $4 million a year to transfer to Oregon. So I mean, Jamie, what do you make of all this stuff?
Well, I, to your point, Charlie, like finally a good argument for why you can transfer before the bowl game. I was trying to think of how we solved that one why while he was speaking, but no, we got to have some rules and regulations about it. Number one, and number two, what we haven't talked about yet is how the players are now using it to even get more money, like we saw this week with the Jalen Mbakwe at Alabama. And I mean, we don't know that that's the truth, but one could surmise that, he put his name in the transfer portal and then 24 hours later, he took it out. And then Ryan Williams is saying, nope, he's our guy. He's staying with us. I'm not leaving. Did Ryan Williams give him some extra money? Does Bama now get to counter because Ole Miss was going to pay him $1 million? It's like now it's just getting really like, who can pay me the most? And we're using it in kind of that, like, I don't know.
So I mean, yeah, and we've got the transfer portal and the NIL thing kind of going on together. Who's got the most money? Because I'll transfer if I get more money.
Right.
I mean, it's moved from name, imaging, and licensing, where the kid gets the money if the university sells his jersey, to let's just pay the kids and we're going to pay them astronomical fee, because they're not doing like, you see very few of these guys that get the NIL money going and doing commercials for a car dealership, or I mean, some of them do, but not many. They're just getting the money. So it's gotten to where, I mean, this is, I mean, it is we've used that expression a couple of times, the wild, wild west, but I don't know what else to call it, because we've never seen, it's the exact reason Saban, retired. He's like, I don't want to mess with this anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's not about developing players anymore. It's not about loyalty to a program. It's not about how much you can invest in the players. It's how much the sponsors and the boosters can invest in the players, not so much developing someone in skills both on and off the field. What do you guys think is the solution or potential solution, or something we could even put, a Band-Aid on it before we even, do the surgery necessary to close this insane hole?
Yeah, that's a great question. The we want to say let's change the timing. If we can move this back to January, which interestingly enough, over the last 2 years, we've had an early signing day, in December, where, most schools are signing almost full recruiting classes. And, that was sort of in response to so many kids wanting to enroll early. Everyone wants to enroll in January and go through spring practice, and coaches love that. And so, okay, well, let's have an early signing day in December. So that's sort of taking care of that. But now we do have this transfer problem as it coincides with the bowl games. I think how it's going to shake out is almost where it is now, and I don't think any of us are going to like this, but non-playoff teams, I think, the bowl season is going to become even less important, and so many bowls and so many teams are irrelevant now that I think players leaving, coming and going. Some coaches, I think, will blatantly just throw up their hands and say, "Hey, this is our spring game. This is our spring practice. We're preparing for 2025."
Right. Well, a lot of the kids that are even playing, when the transfers come into the team, they may not be getting a shot to play in the spring or in the fall. I mean, they may be 2 and 3 down the depth chart, but they're playing in the bowl game. And then Mr. Transfer comes in and he takes his position.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and the water gets even muddier if we wanted to make it even muddier, because there's another transfer portal window in May. And so, the last several years we've seen kids transfer to Vanderbilt. Lost a defensive back last December to Miami. He transferred to Miami thinking, hey, I'm better than Vanderbilt. I should be playing. I should be getting on the field. Found out in spring practice he's not as far up the depth chart as he would like. So he hit the portal again, transferred out of Miami. So it does, it gets even crazier. I mean, this is not the one thing that I really don't like about it more than anything is the opportunity and the openings for all the underhanded shenanigans, illegal stuff.
Right.
And, players being contacted through the back door. I mean, Lane Kiffin's not calling any of the Boise State players, but I don't know if he knows his guy, I don't know if he knows Ole Miss people are calling him or not. I don't know if he's orchestrating that. I'm just using him as an example.
Right.
But um, that's being done, and I think that has to stop. And I really don't like the timing. I don't know how to fix the timing. I
Right.
think if you could
Yeah.
make
So
a
we've got a
very
lot of complaints about it, but I don't know that either one of
yeah.
us or Jamie all have
I mean,
the solution.
maybe you just shorten the window and try to get it done in a week in early January or something. But um,
And
yeah,
if you decide to transfer and you have to up and move your entire life by the time the semester starts in January, then that's on you, right? That's not something really the school should be penalized for. That's the player's choice, right? Jason, I was on a date last night with a guy who went to Miami, and we were talking about this, and it made me think of, usually one of the storylines at the end of the season or postseason is the coaching carousel,
Right.
and
For
how
sure.
the coaches run around, not the players. But because there's so much shuffling of the teams and of personnel, do you guys think that this is not only going to like not have us as many coaches shuffling around because all the players are? Do you think there's not going to be as much kind of responsibility on the coach if they're like, well, my guys keep leaving? Like, whose responsibility is this now?
Well,
when
the coach has to.
when all the players are running around, how do you even build a consistent winning program, right? Or is that really kind of making sure like the general manager or the
What's
coach
the one with the biggest checkbook? That's how you build the program, is who can buy the biggest program. But you've got to want the kids, the coaches, as a coach, you've got to make those kids want to stay with you. You've got to want them to come and play. But I mean, here's the thing: it's
well, that's
the
how it was in the old days. That's not how it is now.
yeah. But I mean, if they're playing, if they're getting exposure and they're hitting the playoffs, but it's going to continue to be the rich get richer. It's going to continue. The big programs are just going to get bigger. The smaller programs will start diminishing. I mean, it is. I mean, it's a challenge to figure out exactly how this is going to go. And again, if I were a coach at this point, I would probably retire like Saban did. I wouldn't want to mess with any of this.
yeah,
So,
it's
any last thoughts on the transfer portal?
it it's a everyone is climbing this ladder. I mean, coaches are climbing the ladder. They want to go from Louisiana to Vanderbilt to, you know, Penn State to Notre Dame to Alabama, whatever.
Right.
Everybody wants, whether they're an assistant, whether they're a head coach, players want to do the same thing. And so every year, everyone's climbing that ladder. And I think that you've got you know, the best players. You look at the All MAC team, the All Mountain West team, the All Sun Belt team, and you're going to find so many guys in the portal because now they've proven themselves
If
in
they're
those leagues.
underclassmen for sure.
They want to go play in a bigger league. Coaches, same way. Um, I don't think there's. I agree with Jamie. I think that's the making players want to be here. That's the old way. Now it's you're either paying them or you're not paying them. I do. One last thing is the case study that's interesting is that we all know the one coach outside the service academies, the one coach who has said, I'm not playing the portal game, Dabo Sweeney, and got a lot of flack about it. And people all summer are talking about, what, Clemson's not looking, I don't know. I think Clemson's lost their hold in the ACC this year, and Dabo's going to have to start dealing with the portal, if he wants to get this done. And he's like, I'm not ready to do that yet. And so now we've got Clemson in the playoffs, and he's like, you know what? I don't need no stinking portal. So,
Well,
this
I think
could
that's
be.
also because the ACC is just absolutely trash this year. I mean,
I will grant you that. I will grant you that.
Just call the whole
Clemson
conference
probably
trash.
loses
Way to
more.
go, Jamie.
Clemson probably
not a
has
lot
more
of
than three
competition.
losses had they played an SEC schedule. I think we all can agree on that. So yes, there's that.
Yeah. All right. So transitioning from the portal to the bowl games, we said, a lot of these bowl games are irrelevant. But what is one bowl game, one matchup that you're really looking forward to, Jamie? I mean, you could obviously say Alabama, Michigan. Honestly, that's the one I'm looking forward to seeing as well, to see what both of those teams bring. But what matchup are you looking forward to that's a non-playoff game?
Okay, so I have one, but I'm going to touch on Bama, Michigan really quick.
Hit it.
2 points about that. Number one, I think karma is going to happen. Alabama is going to beat Michigan this year, perhaps maybe in the same fashion
Right,
that
a little rematch there. Yep.
Alabama beat them last year. Yeah, usually when those two teams tee it up, it's usually not a blowout. Well, actually, that's not true. I think it was it wasn't the Outback Bowl. It was another one of those Florida bowls. Back in like 2019, Michigan didn't score in the second half. It was pretty ugly. Anyway, what I'm so sad about with this game is that it is the ReliaQuest Bowl, not the Outback Bowl. We used to be, Jason and Charlie, a proper nation where those two teams would compete for our chosen app to give to the country. Everyone would get a free app. You got your coconut shrimp, you got your bloomin' onion, and because that is no more, that is tragic for me. I am so sad that if we didn't get in the playoff, we don't at least get a hand in giving America its free appetizer. And that ended in 2022, last time Mars was retrograde.
You're gonna have to buy your own coconut shrimp, Jamie.
I will say, very excited about. Did you guys see the Pop-Tarts trophy that actually toasts Pop-Tarts in the football? So
I have not seen this yet.
Oh my God, it is an actual working toaster within the Pop-Tarts trophy.
Wow.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So I love we still have like some cheese and some cheekiness and some.
Yeah, I'm excited about the Pop-Tart Bowl too, for a lot of reasons.
That's not my game though. I just like the trophy.
She just likes the trophy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I do. That's what's so fun about bowl season.
Yeah.
No, my game.
I don't even know what a ReliaQuest is anyway. What is? I don't even know what company that is.
I don't know. Don't know.
Charlie, anything?
Can't help you there. Some sort of communications error.
Well, hey, maybe that's why they're sponsoring a bowl game. They want everybody to know who they are. So, yeah, because I don't know who the heck they are.
Just boring. Charlie, you'll like this though. My most interesting bowl game outside of the playoff is Georgia Tech and Vanderbilt.
All right.
Yeah.
The Yellow Jackets and Vandy this year for me, you guys were like the Iowa schools. They were playing spoiler. The Iowa State Cyclones and the Iowa Hawkeyes, always in years past, they always take down a team that they're not supposed to. They keep it close with somebody. They ruin someone's resume, and that has been Georgia Tech and Vandy this year. It's going to be. I think that is going to be like the king of who really like wrecked the big boys the most this year.
That's the smart people bowl game right there, man. Yeah, you got to be smart to go to those schools. I really like that Georgia Tech coach too. He is fiery. I mean, he gets fired up on the sideline. So I like this.
Clark Lee, though.
What's that?
So is Clark Lee.
Yeah. And both of those guys are alums. And I think that makes a difference.
I really agree. Do. Yeah. Bring somebody back. So, Charlie, you'll know this because you're a Vanderbilt guy. I mean, Georgia Tech and Vandy had to have, because I know Georgia Tech and Tennessee used to play all the time. They had to have a bit of a rivalry back in the day, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they did like when Georgia Tech was in the SEC. I don't remember when Georgia Tech was in the SEC, but they played a home and home. It's probably about 10 years ago. Yeah. Maybe I think they did it. I think they did 4 years in a row. And I think it is a good rivalry. I mean, it's a good. Those two teams. I mean, they need to be playing each other. I think.
I think they need to be playing each other as well. So yeah. This was a million years ago when Chan Gailey was the coach at Georgia Tech. I was at a luncheon, and I actually sat next to Coach, and I was like, Coach, Tennessee and Georgia Tech used to play all the time. Way back when, when General Neyland and all that. So I was like, hey, why don't you guys? He's like, why would I want to do that? Why would I want to go to Knoxville and play them? I know. He goes, I want an easy team. I don't want to play Tennessee. So
right. Yeah.
All right, Jamie, that was your pick, Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt.
Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt.
Charlie, which one do you got on your radar there?
I'm going to go I'm going to mention two that, I'll mention one that as a could have been, and that's Washington State, Syracuse in the Holiday Bowl.
Interesting.
James Mateer, the Washington State quarterback, threw for 3,000 yards, ran for more than 800 yards, threw for 29 touchdowns, I think, ran for 15. I mean, a offensive machine. But all the key pieces on offense around him have hit the portal and transferred, and so I don't think they're going to play. I think he's a future Heisman, big time Heisman candidate, by the way. Um, and 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 to
Already making
me,
his Heisman picks for next year.
yeah, I am, and he, he's probably a good candidate to hit the portal soon. I think he's a sophomore, so
Yeah.
but I will go with Miami, Iowa State, two close but not quite playoff teams. Um, Certainly could compete, I think, with the playoff teams, some of them. Uh, I think those Miami receivers, Iowa State defensive backs, I think could be one of the coolest matchups for us to watch in any of the bowl games. The only caveat is we're not in the playoffs, so who cares? If that mentality gets through those locker rooms and guys are opting out and guys are hitting the portal, it certainly makes that game less interesting. But for me, um, those are that's a reason to watch the Pop Tarts Bowl before they get to the trophy presentation.
Well, yeah, like the Cheez-Its Bowl, aren't they? All the players get the Cheez-Its out of the trophy, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool at the Orange Bowl. The big orange cup used to be full of oranges.
Right. Yeah.
Which is
Well,
probably like 15 oranges, maybe.
yeah, I think it was last year, the Duke's Mayo Bowl. They had somebody eat the mayonnaise out of the.
Well, they pour the mayo on the coach.
Yeah, yeah, they
Yeah.
poured mayo on
I
the coach.
remember.
Yeah, the
I saw
Cheez-Its
it.
did the same thing. They dumped Cheez-Its on the coach. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, what was it? The December 2021, January 2022, I saw Shane Beamer down in Florida at the Breakers like 2 days after he won the Duke's Mayo Bowl and just gotten crushed with mayonnaise. So, no, that's a thing. And they're going to keep doing it this year. That needs to be a thing at every bowl game. There has to be
Yeah,
something ridiculous
yeah.
yeah. God, guys,
What do they do with the TurboTax? Is there a
can't get over this.
TurboTax bowl anymore? They throw papers at you. The IRS shows up. I don't know how
Yeah.
you do them all like that, but yeah, the ones that are appropriate, you can definitely have fun with it.
Yeah.
Hey, well, speaking of fun, Charlie, I know you had a lot of fun writing the Southern Football Guide Bowl edition and the preseason edition. You can go to our website, southernfootballnetwork.com, and you can get a copy of the bowl guide. We're going to show it to you right now, everybody. We'll flip through it. There's the cover. Yeah, look at that. So we've been doing this for a bunch of years. Charlie, you want to chat about it? And hey, while we're flipping through it, we'll talk about the Wampler's Farm Sausage has been a great supporter, great sponsor this year. Gatorade, as well as Gordo's Cheese Dip. Thanks for all your support. But Charlie, walk people through what's in this thing.
Well, it's a preview of the 4 first-round playoff games as well as all the bowl games, and it's a great resource to have of who the key players are and kind of what the key points, the high points of if you want to sit down and watch the game and entertainment purposes only, score prediction. But yeah, it's a fun little because who can remember who can remember who's playing in the Cure Bowl this year? I mean, it just popped up there, but. Anyway, it's fun. It's fun to see a lot of those matchups too. I mean, Florida Tulane, the one that just went by there, I think that was on my short list of cool matchups just because those teams, Florida has a lot to prove, Tulane has a lot to prove, but Tulane's quarterback, who is their offense, is not going to play. He's in the portal, so that sort of kills that.
All right, so go to the website, check out our social. Lots of ways you can pick up the Southern Football Guide bowl and playoff. Now it's not just the bowl game, it's the bowl and playoff version. So, Jamie, what do you think? How'd we do today? Like, no Yates, no Studio, no Antonio. What do you think? We made it work, huh?
We did. I had fun, but Jason, I'm not sure I got your pick for the bowl game that you're looking forward to.
The Alabama-Michigan game. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the one that I want to see, the rematch from last year.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time down in Tampa. I love that area. I love it when the cheerleaders and the band come to the beach over in Clearwater. Just a phenomenal environment for that game. but I kind of want to see what's happening with Alabama with all the transfers that are coming out of there. And Michigan's going to have a bunch too. But those are the two teams. We haven't talked, Jamie, about how you felt about Alabama. Missing the playoffs by the skin of their teeth. There, give me 30 seconds on that.
Well, given how the playoff is structured and set up this year, I don't think Alabama should have been in. However, I have an issue with how the playoff is set up. In no world should Arizona State and Boise State have a first round bye. I do believe that, the 5 conference winners should have an automatic bid, but the fact that they are ranked number 3 and number 4 in the playoff doesn't sit well with me. So I think the playoff is having a little bit of an identity crisis. Are we really still looking to get the 12 best teams in like we were in the past with the 4 best teams? Or are we just kind of patting everybody on the back and say, oh yeah, you deserved it? Regardless.
Come on, it's like the field of 64. It's like March Madness. Somebody's going to get left out every single year. It's just they got to cut it off at 12 at some point, right?
And if Alabama wanted to be in, they should have gotten their ref checks on time for the Oklahoma game.
Yep.
So we could have gotten that touchdown and that pass interference on the 3rd down conversion, but that's neither here nor there. I sound like a Georgia fan now complaining about the refs.
Well, yeah, you bring that up. South Carolina's one bad call away from being in the mix of things. The LSU call, the touchdown called back, which was ridiculous. So you could say that about a whole lot of different scenarios.
100%, and that was just. We got dog walked that day. Right. So if you want to be in the playoff, you don't lose that game. I think we've seen now that everyone can afford 2 slip-ups and you can still be relative to, I guess, your conference and your branding, like still in the conversation. But if SMU would have lost that game to Clemson, I said since kickoff, they cannot lose by a walk-off field goal because they will be in. If the first half would have held up and they would have lost by 14 or more, Bama would be in.
That's right.
But again, I like to control my own destiny. I don't want to have to wish ill will or cheer on another team in order for my team to be in. So, but I do think the playoff needs a little bit of work in tweaking. Tweaking.
Yeah. Charlie, last word.
Relative to the seeding, because it's not right. Like the path that Oregon has to go through, like what your reward for being number 1 is then the winner of Tennessee or Ohio State.
Yeah.
Like that's not fair to number 1. Come on. So the seeding leaves much to be desired. So I hope next year they figure it out. And I also think Greg Sankey is going to have something to say relative to how many SEC teams get into the playoff. I think going forward.
Yeah, we were all predicting 5 and 6 at the beginning of the season that we're going to get in. Yeah, and that didn't shake out the way it did.
Yeah, I think we were also thinking, best 12 teams, and obviously 5 or 6 makes sense there. I'm with Jamie on the seating. I think that'll get fixed. I think too, after Tennessee plays in 23-degree weather and after SMU plays in a frigid State College, Happy Valley,
not College Station.
I think they're going to address the home teams too, and I like home teams hosting playoff games. I do like that aspect.
I think Tennessee got hosed on that one, but that's a whole other topic.
I do too. I think it'll be addressed. I think it does favor cold weather teams.
Oh, for sure.
Because normal football weather, normal warm weather doesn't favor anybody, doesn't affect the game, whereas cold weather does.
I've always said for years, the best teams play in the cold weather because you're further into December, January in the NFL specifically. Yeah, you're not playing in a dome.
Yeah, so I think that'll be addressed too, and I think it'll continue to be tweaked, but I do think the seeding leaves a little bit to be desired this year.
Well, that'll do it. Our first go round of the Southern Football Network with the trio, 3 Musketeers, whatever we want to call ourselves here for this particular show. Might be the last one for the year, but it was a good one.
Hey, great. It's great. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you for your time. Look forward to Southern Football Network. Check us out.